have to excuse the rain, the noise, difficult to see. You also have to excuse just how filthy I am. I'm just looking in the little screen. Covered. Factory's been working again this morning, so you'll have to excuse the tools everywhere. I just wanted to quickly show you where what I've been doing today, effectively, and where we're up to. So you can probably see behind me just here. I've got it mocked up. Let me just spin the camera around and show you where I've been. So what I've done is I've chopped off that back piece of the roof in preparation, obviously, to make the shortened roof. I've done sort of a multitude of jobs today. So you can see the skin's gone off the back door because obviously that needed replacing. Not only was it crusty, but obviously we've got rid of the spare wheel carrier. So I've got a new skin to go on here, but one thing that we do have to do is, as you can see at the top, there we go, is the door now is too tall. And the reason that it's too tall is obviously when it's at the back here, obviously it sits lower than the actual floor of the cab. It's by a good sort of 2 inches. You got the lip, so your door would sit here, and then obviously you've got these 2 step-ups onto the floor. And obviously now with it being the king cab conversion with this rear door, which we're still going to retain a functioning opening door, this frame needs to be made shorter. So I've de-skinned it. Obviously I've mocked it up so that I can have a quick look at how tall the door is and how much needs to be taken off. This rail on the bottom, like most Defender rear doors, has got a couple of little rust holes in it anyway, so I've got a new replacement piece. So all I'm going to do is effectively chop this out, chop a 2-inch section out of all of these, and then just weld the new piece onto the bottom. Once that's done, I've got a new aluminium skin. We'll reskin that. Obviously we'll make the bottom a bit shorter so that it folds up properly, and then I've deglazed it because we've got a clear rear window to go in there instead of the heated one. I'm not a fan of the heated look, and once we've got rid of these tints, it'll just be nice clear glass. You'll notice that I've done one side of this rear bulkhead so far, so that's what you start with, which is just basically a big gap. And the way that I've done this, if I can work my way past all these tools, so this bit of the capping is the original top piece of the capping from the middle bulkhead. So then what I did was worked out how long I needed, chopped that off. I then had to work all the capping so that you could slot this piece of the bulkhead in, welded this in so that it was straight, and then let me step back. This piece of the bulkhead that's a nice shape to go all the way in there was again part of the middle bulkhead, and all I did was I chopped that larger than it needed to be, chopped along the wheel arch, and then worked out. So I've got this really nice shape, and that'll seal once this is all set with the adhesive, a bit of seam sealer in there, and that'll be absolutely fantastic. Obviously it looks nice, there's no sort of hatch bits, and that's all done. This capping I've re-riveted back on because this side is effectively done in terms of bulkhead. Let me just work past these tools. So I've got one window cut out done. It was just basically to see how easy this was to put the window in. Really easy, but I'll come to that when I'm actually come to bonding the window in. I'll go over how I did that. So then just onto the inside. Got just a piece of angle aluminium riveted to the this wheel well in the back tub at the distance it needed to be, so that this bit of the bulkhead could be riveted against that one. And then to make this side of the door frame so it's nice and steady, again I've got a bit of angle aluminium. What I did was then chopped off the angle part for the bottom so that I could rivet it all the way down the tub to give it some really nice structural rigidity, and then that's all tied in. The bulkhead's riveted to these aluminium pieces, the capping's riveted to the aluminium pieces and the piece of the bulkhead. What I did was I replicated the hinge point, because that's the only thing about having a king cab in the back, is that with this functioning door we're going to be relying on the top hinge and the bottom hinge only, because obviously the very bottom hinge that's on the door originally is where the tub is, so you can't put that one in. So what I did was I got a piece of steel to reinforce this corner, and just riveted that one in as I was riveting all in. So this now, this bulkhead is absolutely rigid, which is exactly what you want when we're going to be hinging the door just off this point. So I've got to do the same this side. You can see, has this got a zoom function? It has indeed. See where I've started cutting the capping out there, and that just allows the bulkhead to just slide up inside and get all that capping sorted. And then the reason I've just sort of mock assembled it is because when I'm riveting all this together, obviously it needs to be square across, but it needs to be the right width. It needs to make sure that it holds this top panel at the right angle, because if you ever look down a Defender, they don't actually go straight up as I originally thought. So that tub's that way, and then the top piece does angle back in, but then putting this piece of the roof on the top and just setting this quarter panel means that I quickly put a couple of just shims in just to hold that in place, and then I could make sure that it was nice and level, so that once I riveted all this in place, it's in the right place. So let me move to the front of the truck and I'll show you what I've been doing on the front. Okay, so front in terms of, well, firstly chassis, you can see Jen's done a good job of painting. This is all dust, so don't worry, but she's basically Corollused the chassis in this mid bit. Next point is just for her to paint it with the black grey chassis paint that we've got, and then once that's dry we can stone chip this bit. That means then that this bit can get buttoned up. We'll be able to put the seat box back in, and obviously we'll be able to put the floor pans back in, because yesterday I got this replaced, which is basically just a new footwell in the driver's footwell. You may remember there was a horrible repair that wasn't welded fully. There was a big hole, there was another rust hole just up on this point, there was a bit in the back that was just rusting through. So I got this one all cut out, cut my pattern piece up to fit properly around the pedals. I didn't end up unbolting the pedal because all that piece was solid around there, so what I basically did was cut the pattern piece to go around it, and then it's seam welded all the way along. I've got to put 2 new bolts just into these bits, which are just the chassis brace, which you can just about see just at the back there. So that's the back of it. Obviously I got this bracket welded back in for the wheel arch, so the inner wheel arch is all sorted, and then Jen's just carried on painting all the way down the front so that the chassis is completely painted. And then the only 2 bits that were left, there was 2 very, very small holes, one in this section and one in this section. So all I did, quick, very small pattern piece, cut to shape, popped it in, welded that up, and then I've seam sealed over those. So the bulkhead now, all the way across, is completely welded. So we've got a new passenger footwell, new driver's footwell. Those bits of rust up at the top near the wiper motor are all welded up, seam sealed. That's all solid. Bits at the top corners of the bulkhead are all solid, and we're in a fortunate position that the outside of these bulkhead is not only solid, but there's no filler in this. This is as it's supposed to be.
The following day.
I already got down my face today. What I'm going to try and film today is a bit more of an in-depth sort of showing you guys how I built this little section of bulkhead. It might look self-explanatory with all the various bits that I've cut out, but I'll just show you sort of step by step what I did and why I did it. Obviously I'm making this up as I go along, because Land Rover officially didn't offer a king cab, especially with a swing back rear door that swings inside the tub, which is the purpose of this. So we want to retain this space in the middle. There's not a solid bulkhead going across. That would be quite easy to fabricate, because you just take an existing truck panel, and rivet a capping across the top, that'd be done. But what I'm trying to do is create something that structurally sound enough so that we'll be able to swing a rear door, bolt the hinges through this section, through the top section, and have that nice and secure feeling and it not be rattling around. So first things first, I've got myself a nice thick piece of aluminium, and it's just to create this upright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark just how tall I need to cut it so that it's the right size. Then I need to notch the bottom of it so that, there we go on this way, so that that bit can go right flush up against the side, as you can see there. Cut it off, and then I just need to make this little shape in the top so that the capping fits into it nice and square, and that gives us our base here for starting to build this panel up. Right, Mrs. Johnson's cooked me some lovely warm dinner, so I'm just going to pop in and eat that. But just before I disappear, so I got this this piece of angle aluminium cut. You can see that cut out obviously is to clear the arch, like I said. Took some measurements going from the front of the tub up to where this one was bolted in, and then again from the rear, just so that I had double measurements. Got that one marked in. Then what I actually did was just mocked up the two side bits, put that rear roof panel on just so that I knew that the gap was perfectly right, and then I could get that height marked exactly right. Now obviously as much as I measured, just needed to raise it up probably 5 or 6 millimeters. Then I got the tag seal out, drilled the requisite holes and put some sealant on the back of this so that it's nice and watertight, and riveted that in place. This is the capping, which I'll be welding onto there, because obviously if I just sealed this in, there's a potential for water ingress to come through here. You can see that sits on there nice and flush. I'll get that ground back and then just get that welded like I've done the other side, and you can see that that sits on there just nicely. And then you step back and you can see, well, obviously not with this panel in place, but we're well on our way to making a replica of that side. Now I've measured the gap between these 2 points, coming out at 91 centimeters. So then what I did was just measure the door just where the waste seal is. It's just a shade over 90 centimeters, so that leaves about a 1 centimeter gap, sorry, which is absolutely perfect on these Defenders, because obviously once we put this lip in, which you can see on the original panel, we'll recreate that lip going down on that side and on that side, and then the rubber seal will fill up that void and just make it nice and watertight. So I'm just going to pop and have something to eat, then I'll come out, I'll make this infill piece, make the strengthening plate for the lock, and we'll go from there. So we've got a finished article on this side. Obviously you've seen it stripped down. Once I basically put this in place, marked where this side needed to be cut, and then excuse the cutting swath from drilling all the holes, basically riveted a piece of angle aluminium on the bottom just where it needed to be, and then it was just a case of, as you can see from this side, drilling and riveting along all of the angles just to make sure that it was nice and structurally solid. And you can just see that it's sealed in place, this with a bit of tiger seal. So you've got a lovely seal up against the tub, a lovely seal down against this back bit of angle aluminium, and I basically riveted this side and riveted this side, and only once all that was riveted and it was solid did I then rivet the capping on. And obviously you can see by the capping we've then sealed under that and riveted all that in place so that side is fully finished. And then once again, say hello Mrs. Johnson. And once again then just mocked it up with those 2 side panels just in place, that piece of the roof just in place, and then we have just pulled the rear door, which is just down here, just to make sure that it's retained its shape. So that all bolts in place nicely. Obviously there'll be new seals going into these side panels when we bolt these up. but it's a nice shape, everything's solid, and hopefully it's going to be watertight.